Okay, what's up guys? Today we're going to be making a Lorem Ipsum text generator app using React, and the final result is going to look something like this. We're going to be able to select how many paragraphs we want, so we can click on 2, we can type a number, let's say 5. We can also select if maybe we want to get an H1 instead of paragraph, maybe an H4 or a span. And we can also select do we want to include HTML or not. So currently we have spans showing, but we can also say no here to get the text without the HTML. So if we go back to yes and we copy to Clipboard here, once we click the button, we're going to get this text here. Let's go to view, toggle word wrap. So you can see we have one span here, second span, third span, fourth span, and fifth one. That's how many we selected. And then if we click no here and then we copy again, and let's remove this text and paste this. So we're just going to get the same exact text without the HTML. And this is also going to keep updating no matter what we change. So if we set this to 2, it's going to update to 2 instantly. If we change to 10, it's going to update to 10. So one thing we need to do here before we start our project, we're going to go to this link. I'm going to leave this in a comment. These are just the styles for the app. So you can just copy all these. And in our app CSS, we're going to remove everything and just paste those. And all the way at the top, there's a commented link here. So we're going to uncomment and cut that from here. That's going to be for the font we're going to use in this app. So we can go to public index.html and we're just going to paste that font here. So that's all when it comes to styles. And we also want to install this. This is going to help us copy the text here once we click on this button. So we're going to use React copy to Clipboard. The link is also going to be in the description. So we can just copy this line right here. We're going to open our terminal. Okay, that's done installing. Let's go back here. We got some basic styles. So the first thing we're going to make here is a folder called components. We're only going to have 2 components, but just to keep it clean. So we're going to have components. And here we're going to have an output component. So output.js, which is going to be this text right here. And we're also going to have another component called options. So options.js. So let's go back to our app first. We're going to keep all the states inside the app. So we're going to need to import useState hook first. And then here inside our app, the first state we're going to have is going to be paragraphs and set paragraphs. And initially we're going to set that to an empty array. So this state is going to keep all the text we're getting back from the data. Then the next state we're going to have is going to be tag and set tag. And initially we're going to set this to a string. That's going to be p. So we're going to use this state to change these things in between. So it's either going to be p, h1, h2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or span. So this is our tag state. Then we're going to have a state for our input value. So input value and set input value. And initially we want to set this to 1. And this state is going to be for this number input that we have right here. And the last state we're going to need is for this select we're going to have, just include HTML. We have yes or no. So we need a state for that as well. And we can call it include HTML and set include HTML. And we're going to set that equal to a string that's just going to say yes. So that's going to be our default. So those are all the states we're going to have. And we're also going to import useEffect from React to get the data. So here we're going to do useEffect, pass an arrow function. And for now, we're just going to leave this an empty array, so it runs only once. And here we want to create a variable called URL equals, And then we're going to do template literals and paste this link. So this link is also going to be in the description if you guys want to get it there, or you can just type it out. And then one thing here that we want to change, where we have paras equals to 1 here, this number is going to be how many paragraphs we want to output. So instead of 1, we're just going to add our state here, that's input value. So right now this is 1, but later on we're going to be changing this when we update the input. Okay, so we can save that. Then under that we want to fetch the data. So we're going to use fetch. Want to fetch this URL. Then we're going to have .end. We're going to get a response back, and we're going to set that to response.json. Then after that we're going to do another .end. We're going to get the data back. And for now we can just console log data. And if we open our console here, we're going to have an array. And we're going to have this sentence here that we're getting back, so one of them. So instead of console logging it here, we want to update our state, which is paragraphs. So we're going to use set paragraphs, and we're just going to set it to that data. So for now, we're just going to leave this empty, but later on, we're going to add some dependencies as well. So we can remove this here. We're going to add a div with a class of container. Then inside of that, we're going to have a div with the class name of title. And we're just going to render an h1 here. That's going to say Lorem Ipsum text generator. So now we can start building our components. So the first component we're going to make is options. So we're going to import React from React. Then we're going to have const options is equal to an arrow function. We're going to add a return. And at the end, we're going to do export default options. Then inside of here, we're going to add a div with a class name of options. Inside of that, we're going to have another div with a class name of wrapper. In here, we're going to add a div with a class of options container. So this div is going to keep all the options here. So paragraphs, tags, include HTML and a button. So we're going to have another div here that's going to be paragraphs. And inside this div, we're going to render a paragraph that just says paragraphs. And under that, we have an input that's going to be type number. And we're also going to add min value of 1 and max value of 10. If you guys don't want to limit the input, you don't need to add this. So under paragraphs div, we're going to add another div with a class name of tags. We're going to have a paragraph that just says tags. And under that, we're going to have a select. And inside the select, we're going to have options. So we can do option times 8. And for now, we're not going to add anything here. And for our value, this is going to be a paragraph, h1, h2, h3, h4, h5, h6, and last one is span. And then here we can do end lt, and then at the end we can do end gt. So this is going to replace the code lines like this. And then in between those, we're just going to add the same thing we have inside the value. So this one is just going to be a paragraph. Then we can copy that here for everything else. And we're just going to replace these. So this one is h1, h2, h3, h4, h5, h6, and span. So these are going to be all of our options. So under this div, tags, we're going to create another div with the class of include. Then a paragraph here that's just going to say include HTML. And under that, we're going to have select. And inside the select, we're going to have option times 2. We can also remove the name and ID. And for the value here, we're just going to type yes. And the same thing inside the option. So just text that says yes. And the second one is going to be no. So now if we scroll up, let's see where this div ends. So options container. Under that div, we're going to add another div that says copy. And here, we're going to add copy to clipboard button later. But for now, we're just going to add a paragraph that says copy to clipboard. So that's our whole component. For the options, then we can go back to app and we're going to import that here. So import options from ./components/options. And we're going to render that component under our title. So we have title, and then under that, we're just going to render options. So you can already see that. You can't really see the last paragraph, but this is going to be a button. So once we have that done, we need to pass our props. So inside our app, let's move this to a new line. There are a few props we're going to pass. So we're going to pass paragraphs equals paragraphs. We're going to pass include HTML as include HTML. Then set include HTML. We also want to pass that. We're going to need to pass input value for our input. So input value. And we also want to pass set input value just so we can update it later on. And we also want to pass tag and set tag. So these are all the things we're going to pass. So we can copy these, come back to options, but just paste them at the bottom, just so we have access to them. We're going to pass props here. Then we're going to do const curly braces equals to props. And then the only thing we need is to add these here. So we need paragraphs, include HTML, set include HTML. We have input value, set input value, tag, and set tag. So these are all the values we're going to get. We can remove this completely and format this. So now we have access to all of these. So the first thing we want to do is if we come to this input, we're just going to move everything into new line, just so we have some space. So the first thing we need for our input is the value, which is going to be input value. That's the state we made. And that's initially 1, as we see here. That's what's showing. But we also want to update that value. So we're going to add onChange event. We're going to pass an event here. And we're going to use set input value to update our state. And we're going to set it to e.target.value. Then we have tags here. And if you guys remember, we made a state for that. So tag and set tag, which is this thing right here. So for our select, we're going to add default value. That's going to be tag. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to add onChange event. So whenever we click on each of these, it's going to change. We're going to pass an event. And we want to update our state, which is set tag. And we're just going to set it to event.target.value. So right now this is paragraph, but if we click on H2, it's just going to be H2. At the same time, we can set something else to be default here. So we can do span, for example, or whatever else you guys prefer. So that's everything for our tags. Then here we have include HTML, and we also made state for it. So include HTML and set include HTML. So we're going to do something similar. We're going to pass default value, which is going to be include HTML. We're going to add onChange event, pass an event here, and we're going to use set include HTML. And we want to set that to event.target.value. And for now, we're just going to leave this button for the end. This is all we're going to need inside our options. And then let's go back to our output. We're going to import React from React. We're going to do const output equals to an arrow function. We're going to have a return. And we're going to do export default output. So now we can import that inside the app. So we're going to import output from dot slash components slash output, and we're gonna render that under our options. So right here, let's just add something to our component here. We're gonna create a div with a class name of output, and this is where our text is gonna show, like it shows here. Just switch this to 1. So we need to show our text here, and our text is inside a paragraph state because we're getting the data here and we're updating our paragraph state with that data. So now this paragraph state contains all the data we have, and we're gonna need to pass that to our output. We also wanna pass our tag. So we're gonna pass tag here, tag. And last state we want to pass is include HTML. So we can copy these paragraphs. Let's come here. We're going to get props. We're going to use const. We're going to get paragraphs first. Then we need to get our tag. And the last one is include HTML. And we want to set that to props. Then inside our output, since this is going to be an array, we're going to need to map through them. But before that, we have this include HTML, which is either yes or no. So we're going to check before mapping here. We're going to check if include HTML is equal to a string that says yes. So if that's true, we're going to render a paragraph here. And now, since this is an array, we're going to need to map. So inside this paragraph, we're going to add curly braces, paragraphs.map for each sentence. We're going to return template literals here. And for now, let's just add an empty tag here and here. And you'll see why in a second. So we need to select which tag we want to show. So we're either showing span, h1, h2, or whatever else. So when we return a sentence here, we want to return a tag, which is our state, that's initially a paragraph. So if we go back here, as you can see, this is only a P. But once we add code brackets here, this is going to become a paragraph, like just a normal paragraph. And then if we change it to H1, this tag is just going to become an H1. So this is going to be our next tag. So this is only a basic tag that's like either paragraph, H1, span, or whatever else we pick. And inside of that, we just want to render our sentence. And then here, we're going to add else. So if user clicks no, because we only have two options, we're going to render a paragraph again. We're going to use paragraphs.map for each sentence. And we just want to return that sentence, nothing else. So the sentence is just this one whole sentence we get. But in our case, we're returning that with a paragraph, which is this tag right here. So if we change this tag, actually we don't even need to change it here. Let's go to our app, and let's say we change this to H1. You can see that this changed to H1. So the only thing that's changing here is this tag. So this is either ph1 span. So this is our output, and then we have everything working here. But if we click on this number, you can see we're not getting any changes here. We can switch tags, that works, and we can select includes HTML yes or no. But the only thing is this. So if we go back to our app, right now we're fetching the data only when the page loads. But we also want to fetch the data again once we change this number. And if we come back here, that number is our input value. So for our dependency inside useEffect, we're going to add that input value. And every time the input value changes, or this number, this is going to re-render and we're going to get new data. So if we click 2 now, this is going to work. We type 5, it's going to work. We can switch to span, H3, include HTML, no or yes. Everything works perfectly. And the last thing is adding button here that's going to copy our text. So if you remember, we installed this package at the beginning. So if we scroll down, we can see the import here that we'll need to add. So coming back to options, we're going to import copy to clipboard, and we can copy this, come all the way down. We're going to remove this paragraph, and we're just going to render that copy to clipboard as component. And inside of that, we're going to have a button that says copy to clipboard. And this copy to clipboard has a property called text. So text is just the value this is going to copy. So in our case, we want to copy these, but we can select yes or no. So we need to make sure, do we want to copy the text with the paragraph or any other tag, or just the text without any tags like this. So to do that, we're going to move this to a new line just to have some space. So inside this text, we're going to do paragraphs.map for each sentence. And here we want to check if include HTML, again, is equal to yes. So if that's true, we're going to return the same thing we are returning here. So tag with a sentence. We can copy this. Let's make this a bit bigger. And we're going to return that. And else we're just going to return sentence, meaning we're not going to return any tags like paragraph or h1, h2. So let's format that. So we can test that now. If we, let's say, tool and we do h2, we click copy to clipboard, and let's come here and paste this. Make sure. So we have one h2, second h2. But then again, if we click no and we do copy to clipboard again, and let's paste that, you can see we get everything normally. And we can try putting this to span, clicking yes here, copy again, paste that. You can see that works perfectly. So that would be it for this final project. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.